Ladies and gentlemen, Bill McCloud.
Morris has read my poetry at Locust Grove, and a Cub Club, you may have been here, several months ago, maybe late last year, when he actually read 13 of poems from that book. But I've never had anybody read that first one, Let's Drop Out, and they're all true. We were on the way to Northern Oklahoma Junior College in Tonkawa, driving from Ponca City. And the guy said, let's drop out and join the Army. So we said, okay. So we turned the car around in the road. We didn't even go to school that day. Dropped out. Didn't officially drop out, just didn't go back. A couple of months later, we were sworn in Oklahoma City by the brother of one of us. Charlie Smith's brother swore us in. And I went back to that college after the Army and did a whole lot better than I did before the Army. And so that's the really cool thing. Northern Oklahoma College last year put me into the Alumni Hall of Fame for the school. And it would not have happened based on my experience there before I went to the Army in Vietnam. But instead I came back, and they used me as that textbook case where you can see how some experience caused somebody to grow up. So they used that. I'm both the negative and the positive of that school. I plan to use the time tonight, so we have a little smaller group so far than we sometimes do, so we can be prepared to go around 2 or 3 times, whatever it is, until we use up the time. So keep that in mind. You're not necessarily going to have just one shot. She Had Some Horses by Joy Harjo. She had some horses. She had horses who were bodies of sand. She had horses who were maps drawn of blood. She had horses who were skins of ocean water. She had horses who were the blue air of sky. She had horses who were fur and teeth. She had horses who were clay and would break. She had horses who were splintered red cliff. She had some horses. She had horses with eyes of trains. She had horses with full brown thighs. She had horses who laughed too much. She had horses who threw rocks at glass houses. She had horses who licked razor blades. She had some horses. She had horses who danced in their mother's arms. She had horses who thought they were the sun and their bodies shone and burned like stars. She had horses who waltzed nightly on the moon. She had horses who were much too shy and kept quiet in stalls of their own making. She had some horses. She had horses who liked creek stomp dance songs. She had horses who cried in their beer. She had horses who spit at male queens who made them afraid of themselves. She had horses who said they weren't afraid. She had horses who lied. She had horses who told the truth, who were stripped bare of their tongues. She had some horses. She had horses who called themselves horse. She had horses who called themselves spirit and kept their voice a secret unto themselves. She had horses who had no names. She had horses who had books of names. She had some horses. She had horses who whispered in the dark, who were afraid to speak. She had horses who screamed out of fear of the silence, who carried knives to protect themselves from ghosts. She had horses who waited for destruction. She had horses who waited for resurrection. She had some horses. She had horses who got down on their knees for any savior. She had horses who thought their high price had saved them. She had horses who tried to save her, who climbed in her bed at night and prayed as they raped her. She had some horses. She had some horses she loved. She had some horses she hated. These were the same horses. Joy Harjo. Joy Harjo has just been named our next poet laureate for the United States of America. She lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Be ready, because we're going to start inviting people up here. I will never be Poet Laureate of the United States because the poems I write are a little different from Joy's, like this one. Every year, she has mailed him a pair of her underwear. I routinely, when I read that line, I routinely stop and then start over again because your brains are more prepared the second time. A Splash of Pink is the title. And this is published in Emerge online literary journal out of the writers colony at Dairy Hollow over at Eureka Springs. So this is online. A Splash of Pink. Every year she has mailed him a pair of her underwear because of how it started. They haven't actually seen each other in decades, but she's always known where he lived, and without fail, once a year, she has sent him a pair of her underwear. No one else knows, though once some postal workers may have seen a splash of pink, gotten a glimpse of a splash of pink through a hole that had been torn in a corner of the package. But that, even that, was many years ago. I like to keep people informed of the titles of poems that I'm currently working on, just to kind of keep me honest and keep me going back to them. So these are not poems. These are titles of 5 of my poems that are currently in different forms of development. So the title of one is The Poets Go to War Over the Women. Another one is The Poets Go to War Over the Women. And thank you for asking me to repeat that, because I like saying that. A second poem I'm working on is The History of Lightning in Otherwise Calm Times. A third one is The Ass Whipping Out Behind the Poetry Reading. A fourth one is The Girl Who Wrote Novelettes. And the fifth one is All the Love That Exists Beyond All Love.
Yo, Bill. You've already started? You've already begun? Have you already begun the ass whipping?
It's the incident happened, yes. It was inspired. Actually,
I guess what I'm trying to find out is, do some of them come from the titles, or are they?
oh, no. Thank you. This is going to be fun, because in September, I get to read at the Depot in Norman, and that's a one-poet event, which some of you are scared to death I'm about to turn this into, but I'm not. I'm going to read. I'm the featured poet at the Depot in Norman, and there's no open mic there. And Carl Senhan says that I'll be able to read my poetry at 45 minutes to an hour, and then they have questions and answers and things. There's not been very many times that a title. See, I know what he's thinking. Since I'm making a big deal about the titles, maybe I had the titles and then came from that. No.
No, I'm trying to figure out with a learner, you know, how to.
Yeah, you're a poetic learner, I know. The titles don't come first very often, but titles are very, very important to me. I'm going to read a couple of poems later this evening by Jennifer Long and Norman, and she doesn't even put titles on hers until they go into her books. And to me, a poem is not complete until it has the title. But the hash whipping at the poetry reading is based on a time where two guys got to fussing. I don't want to embarrass anybody here because it's so dark I can't even see anybody. But it had to do because a poet finished his reading and went to his table, and before he sat down, he called out somebody at another table who he said had talked all the way during his poetry. And that pretty well just shut down that whole poetic experience for the rest of that afternoon. And I just imagined how it was continued. And then this little one, this is one of my favorite ones. This is called Pride. As she tends the bar, she keeps an opener in the perfectly stitched left back pocket of her perfectly fitting blue jeans. And I imagine the person who ran the machine that made the opener took great pride in his or her work. Now, somebody needs to come up. Okay, who's going to start us off for real? What am I bid? Okay, I got $2. Who'll give me 3? Okay, we got 2 people. Come on up. And then we've got a gentleman ready. We've got 2 set to go. Thank you all for being here.
I think she's just reading it.
I've never done this before, so.
Oh, yeah?
I'm a newbie. But I did find my all-time favorite book, and I've had it for 50 years now. So I'm going to read to you about love. Because I think our nation at this point really needs to think about love, or maybe a little bit more than we have been. So then said our Mitra, speak to us of love. And he raised his head and looked upon the people, and there fell a stillness upon them. And with a great voice, he said, when love beckons to you, follow him. Though his ways are hard and steep, and when his wings enfold you, yield to them. However, the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. And when he speaks to you, believe in him. Though his voice may shatter your dreams as the north wind lays waste the garden. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he is for your growth, so he is for your pruning. Even as he ascends to your height and caresses your dearest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you unto himself. He threshes you to make you naked. He sifts you to free you from your husk. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads you until you are common. And then he assigns you to his sacred fire, that you may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. All of these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. But if in your fear you would seek only love's peace and love's pleasure, then it is Better for you that you cover your nakedness and pass out of love's threshing door. Into this seasonless world where you shall laugh, but not all your laughter, and weep, but not all your tears. Love gives not but itself, and takes not from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed. For love is sufficient unto love. And think not, oh wait, I skipped a part. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. And think not you could direct the course of love, for love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. Love has no desire other than to fulfill itself. But if you love and must needs have desires, let these be your desires. To melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody into the night. To know the pain of too much tenderness. To be wounded by your own understanding of love. And to bleed willfully and joyfully. To wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving. To rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy, to return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise on your lips. And that is, if you could find this book, I don't know if you still can, it's fabulous.
Good.
Thanks.
Come on up, sir. Yes, I don't think that book has gone out of print, The Prophet. So we've had Joey Harjo and we've had Khalil Gibran. You're welcome to read favorites of yours or your own poetry.
Thank you, Bill. You know what I'm worried about? I'm worried that the first person that reads a poem that rhymes is the one that's going to get the ass whipping out behind the poet. All right, I will yield this one if there's someone else that wants to read the quotation by Jenny George. All right, I'll do it. This is by Jenny George, a famous poet. I remind myself that language isn't my job. Writing a poem isn't my job. My job is the human job of watching and waiting and listening. And language is just what poets use, like wind chimes, to catch the sound of the larger, more essential thing. Wind chimes themselves are not the point. The point is the wind. What was my next one going to be? When people ask me what my favorite song is, when people ask me what I think of any particular song, my answer is always the same. It's No Stranger in Paradise. Take my hand. I'm a stranger in paradise. All lost in a wonderland, a stranger in paradise. If I stand starry-eyed, that's a danger in paradise for mortals who stand beside an angel like you. I saw your face and I ascended out of the commonplace into the rare. Somewhere in space, I hang suspended until I know there's a chance that you'll care. Won't you answer the fervent prayer of a stranger in paradise? Don't send me in dark despair from all that I hunger for. Won't you open your angel arms to a stranger in paradise and tell him that he need be a stranger no more? That's my favorite. Here's one that I wrote earlier this week.
I agree.
It's called When a Tree Falls in the Woods. Or When a Tree Falls in the Forest. I'm sorry, I misquoted my own poem. When a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear, that does even make the slightest sound if unheard by human ear? Have you never seen bears in a forest, or field mice, eagles, and deer? The cranes and the herons can sense it. Sound has no need for human ear. What need do the woods have for people with our matches and plastics and drones? Our self-centeredness doesn't help grass snakes, nor our computers, our trash, or cell phones. I fear in the far distant future, or worse, in times closer on, the question of sound proves prophetic, and the woods sterile as fertilized lawn. When the world is depleted of clean air, and the warming is hotter than hell, a tree may fall in the forest, and no ear will hear that it fell.
Okay, now who's coming? Who's the next one? Yes, come on up here, Heidi. Rhyming. We're in a stage right now where 80% of the journals that publish poetry will not look at rhyming poetry. And they just won't even look at it. That's 80%. Now, that's not all of them, and we're not all about publishing. The poet laureate of Oklahoma, Janetta Mish, says that's because, she says the reason for that is because people are so bad at rhyming. It's not as easy as what you think, and it doesn't always work the way that you think that you should. None of that has anything to do with us tonight. We're not here about publishing. We're here about expression. So anything goes, everything goes, which is the perfect introduction for this lady.
Hi everyone, I'm Heidi Lee from Pink, Oklahoma, and it's been a while. I've missed you all, and it's good to see you. Good to be back. And I just wanted to share what's new in haiku at our little farm in the woods of Pink, Oklahoma. So I think it'll be just a little slice of life, a day in the life of Heidi. Day breaks with birdsong. One voice calls through the chatter. Good morning, Bob White. You can hardly ever hear those guys anymore, so I got excited last time. A woozy warble. My dearie, fly near me, please. Summer tanager. Indignant pigs squeal. Demonic exclamations punctuate mealtime. But they really aren't demonic. They just sound that way because I'm slow and they get impatient with me. And the piglets sound like kazoos. So it's rather funny. The joke is on me. Silk strands stretch at face level. Spiderweb mustache. That just happened recently. Silk sheets drape branches. Spiders furnish summer woods. Trees a la Tolkien. Chestnut peeks through leaves. Deer watch, veiled in green silence. I feel their presence. White trumpets unfurl, offering twilight nectar, intoxicating. Enticing night air, fill our dreams with wonder. Sleep casts a strong spell. Last night passed with song. A lonesome coyote crooned wistful lullabies. And one last one. Potawatomi, my county belongs to them. Where do I belong?
Okay, who's next? As Boris says, there's a lot more. Boris says there's a lot more to haiku than just counting. It's not a matter of just counting. There's a lot more to haiku than that. And she's not a master or mistress of it. Okay.
Is that gonna work?
It's too high up.
Everybody forgets how short I am. I don't have anything original tonight. Been too busy training the dog rather than writing about her. She has her CGC now. But I brought a favorite book. Not only to me, but to my kids. It's a book everybody who's got kids, you should have. Shel Silverstein.
Oh, yes.
Standing is stupid. Crawling is a curse. Skipping is silly. Walking is worse. Hopping is hopeless. Jumping is a chore. Sitting is senseless. Leaning's a bore. Running's ridiculous. Jogging's insane. Guess I'll go upstairs and lie down again. The next one is called board. I can't afford a skateboard. I can't afford an outboard. I can't afford a surfboard. All I can afford is a board. He got a little serious on this one. Picture puzzle piece. One picture puzzle piece lying on the sidewalk. One picture puzzle piece soaking in the rain. It might be a button of blue on the coat of the woman who lived in a shoe. It might be a magical bean or a fold in the red velvet robe of a queen. It might be the one little bite of the apple her stepmother gave to Snow White. It might be the veil of a bride or a bottle with some evil genie inside. It might be a small tuft of hair on the big bouncy belly of Boo Boo Bear. It might be a bit of the cloak of the witch of the West as she melted to smoke. It might be a shadowy trace of a tear that runs down an angel's face. Nothing has more possibilities than one old wet picture puzzle piece. The prayer of a selfish child. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my toys to break, so none of the other kids can use it. Amen.
this happens to be your first time, you don't know that we have always been up on the stage before, so I think, I mean, how's this working out? Is this working out pretty good? I know it's gonna work out good for the people that climb the steps. But I like this because it puts, when we're here reading, it puts us down amongst everybody instead of like, we're up not on a pedestal, but we're up somewhere. So far it's working. Okay, somebody else, come on up.
All right, here we go. Those darn stairs, right? Downstairs.
Hello, I'm Tamika, I live in Bronzeville. So I don't have any original poems today, I'm just gonna read poems by some other people. This poem is called Happy Father's Day by Ebony Stewart. He say I only write about the bad things, so I can't remember the good things. Say I couldn't know or remember all that bad, said I was too young. Guess I got a good imagination. He say I write about old stuff, I guess I ain't over it yet. He don't like how what I write make him look like he ain't shit, like he ain't raised his kids, like he don't love us still. Guess I shouldn't write the truth. Guess I shouldn't write how I feel, the way I grew up, the way I woman now. Guess I shouldn't make him look like he ain't nothing but some sperm donor, some dude. He said he tired of not being the hero in my poems. I said me too. I write what I know. He don't like the memories he left me with. Me neither. Don't like being reminded of his faults, but I look in the mirror every day, got his face. Would that make me? I say how I'm supposed to escape. They say you did. I say that's what happens when you leave and ain't got nothing when you come back. I say where I'm from, that shit hurts. He said you ain't gonna be successful. I say you made sure of that. And even if I am, you ain't gonna have shit to do with that either. He said, I bought you ice cream once, took you to the movies a few times, made you dinner, played you in Tekken that time, remember? Remember I came to your volleyball game once, and that time you played Powder Puff? Remember I met your boyfriend once, twice, maybe 3 times? Remember I bought you that one book for that one class when you was in college that one time? Remember I came to your graduation? Remember I was at your wedding? Remember we danced? Remember. I say, you show up to be seen, to get praise and glory that don't belong to you. Damn, I must be ungrateful, needing more than that one book, help paying off these student loans. All you done shit, guess I shouldn't need for shit. Not that shoulder when I got that divorce, when I almost got raped, when I broke my ankle playing sports. Guess I was only hungry once, can watch the same movie for the rest of my life. Eat only one flavor of ice cream, but I heard Baskin Robbins got 32. Guess I ain't need no talking to on how not to get hurt by all these boys. You the best lesson. Guess when you left, your hurt was enough for the both of us. You right. Act like you ain't do nothing. Guess I ain't Christian. Guess I can't get over it. I mean, talk to you so bad, treat you so funny. Guess when I grew up without you, I took you away from me. Guess without you, I'd have nothing to write about, so thank you for teaching me how to make nothing out of something, the way you raised me.
Wow.
Whose poem was that?
Ebony Stewart. And then I have another poem by,
W or you?
with a W. And I found her on YouTube. So I have another poem by Alexandra L. It's called Survive. When you sit back and dream your life dreams, do they seem real to you? Can you touch them, taste them? Do you love them, wholly and truly, without regret or second thought? Can you still feel them when others refuse to let them land on earth to grow? Will they survive the doubt when you give them permission to be born? That's all for that one. This is called Past Life by Alex L. as well. Past lives create future poems and love songs and memories that thrive long after we die. They give hope to the hopeless and warmth to the frigid hearts, too scared to love again. Past lives remind us that what we don't want is behind us, and what we do is within reach. And then I have one last one. It's called Husband by Alex L. as well. With my eyes closed, I can trace every move. Without touching you, I can feel your love pressed against mine. That's it.
I've got one, and then someone else can get ready to come up. I'm gonna call your favorite song, and I'm gonna raise with this one. This is by Jim Kruger. Been away. Haven't seen you in a while. How have you been? Have you changed your style? And do you think that we've grown up differently? Don't seem the same. Seems you've lost your feel for me. So let's leave it alone, because we can't see eye to eye. But there ain't no good guy and there ain't no bad guy. There's only you and me. We just disagree. I'm going back to a place that's far away. How about you? Have you got a place to stay? Why should I care? But I'm just trying to get along. We were friends, but now it's the end of our love song. So let's leave it alone, because we can't see eye to eye. There ain't no good guy, there ain't no bad guy. There's only you and me, and we just disagree. So let's leave it alone, because we can't see eye to eye. But babe, there ain't no good guy and there ain't no bad guy. There's only you and me. We just disagree. It's by Jim Kruger. Now, who's coming up? Who's next? Okay, come on, Joy.
So I have 3 originals I'm going to read tonight. This first one is called July 4th, 2011. Daggers popping in the sky, slicing through dark hearts on the nights of lonely holidays. This one I read again, but it was also written on July 4th, so I'm just going to read it. It's called Independence Day Preparations. Pine Sol, paper towels, plate cleaner, printed on my memory to forego a written list. On the way to the Cleveland homeland, what else do we need that starts with P? I asked my best friend, who's sitting next to me at the wheel of a 1990 Camry wagon. Pilsner, he shouts out, and we have a good laugh. But he was serious, and after we purchased the Pine Sol, paper towels, dish soap, and added peaches, TP, and white sugar, we drove to BJ's Liquor. July 3rd, and the pickings were slim. So we drove on to the retail liquor store, size of a large closet where they've never heard of an IPA. City folk playing country, or rather food of beer snobs? No, enthusiasts, yes. Driving on to Manford. Big Bass had an impressive selection that could rival any Midtown Tulsa store. So after a half hour discussing the differences between Flying Mitch, Sam Adams IPA, Founder's Cans, and Left Hand's Milk Stout, and after drooling over Ferry, we ended up with 2 Lagunitas 6-packs. The kids made peach turnovers later. We sipped some brown sugar substitute and enjoyed the beginnings of a holiday where we placed for the 2nd year in a row in the 3-legged race at Turtleton Fun Day. And this is one I wrote this month, on July 4th. It's called The Stars and the Stripes and Us. We may all have personal significance, memories, enlightenments, coincidences. Maybe we all have these on Independence Day, though if I had them before 2008, I don't remember. This oddity of the 4th of July revolving around a relationship, a specific relationship with a specific character. dreams, longings, wishful expectations. I've already written 2 poems about it. The first, after hoping he would join me for the holiday and never hearing from him, naively thinking I might mean something to him, and he too naive to realize I should mean something to him. The other, joyfully relaying our Turtleton Fun Day adventures after living together for a year. In between those 6 years, we were both invited to the same July 4th celebration, where we chatted like old buddies. On another occasion, a freshly formed bond between us was broken. There were 4ths where I yearned to watch fireworks with him, and years when I learned that he doesn't like fireworks. Years that he had gigs to play at, and years that I watched the band. A year that we broke up, and the next 2 that we spent together. What is this personal significance that I have for you this single day of every year? Red, white, the blues, and the fireworks.
Okay, somebody else can come up. I'm collecting things that my grandson has said, and a couple of days ago, he's 7 years old. Here's the most recent one of his. I'm keeping the lines in my poetry journal to do something with eventually, but the most recent one that I wrote from him, this is my grandson William, 7 years old. The line is, "Papa, you have to go to the bathroom again?" Oh, I'm a start.
Either way,
Very good.
I'm not particular. All right, so I have a couple of them. There's one that's kind of long, and I'm going to save it till the end. This is from Women of Resistance, Poems for New Feminism, and it's several different authors. This one, her name is Denise Froman, and it's called Hunger. A woman can go mad without herself, you know, can call a lover who convinces her there is sweeter fruit than her own name, a lover, and never sleep good again. I want to believe I'm a better woman now that I'm writing poems. That when I say poems, I mean another way to say revenge. That when I say revenge, I mean to regift each shard of God back to its maker. That when I say God, I mean to grow fat off my own honey and never go hungry again. And these next 2 are by Margaret Atwood, and I didn't realize she wrote Handmaid's Tale, and I guess I never caught that she wrote poetry. So these are 2 that in this book that I found. The first one is called Asparagus. This afternoon, a man leans over the hard rolls and the curled butter and tells me everything. 2 women love him. He loves them. What should he do? The sun sifts down through the imperceptibly brownish urban air. I'm going to suffer for this. Turn red, get blisters, or else cancer. I eat asparagus with my fingers. He plunges into description. He's at his wit's end, sewed up in his own frenzy. He has breadcrumbs in his beard. I wonder if I should let my hair go gray so my advice will be better. I could wrinkle up my eyelids, look wise. I could get a pet lizard. You're not crazy, I tell him. Others have done this. Me too. Messy love is better than none, I guess. I'm no authority on sane living. Which is all true and no help at all, because this form of love is like the pain of childbirth. So intense, it's hard to remember afterwards, or what kind of screams and grimaces it pushed you into. The shrimp arrive on their skewers, the courtyard trees unroll their yellowy caterpillars, pollen powders our shoulders. He wants them both, he relates, tortures. The coffee arrives, and altogether I'm amazed at his stupidities. I sit looking at him with a sort of wonder. Or is it envy? Listen, I say to him, you're very lucky. Okay, this one is kind of long, but I really liked it. It's called, yeah. It's called Half-Hanged Mary. Half-Hanged Mary was Mary Webster, who was accused of witchcraft in the 1680s in a Puritan town in Massachusetts and hanged from a tree, where, according to one of several surviving accounts, she was left all night. It is known that when she was cut down, she was still alive, since she lived for another 14 years. So this is like an hourly portrayal of that event. 7 p.m. Rumor was loose in the air, hunting for some neck to land on. I was milking the cow. The barn door opened to the sunset. I didn't feel the aimed word hit and go in like a soft bullet. I didn't feel the smashed flesh closing over it like water over a thrown stone. I was hanged for living alone, for having blue eyes and a sunburned skin, tattered skirts, few buttons, a weedy farm in my own name, and a surefire cure for warts. Oh yes, and breasts, and a sweet hair hidden in my body. Whenever there's talk of demons, these come in handy. 8 p.m. The rope was an improvisation. With time, they thought of axes. Up I go like a windfall in reverse, a blackened apple stuck back out into the tree. Trussed hands, rag in my mouth, a flag raised to salute the moon. Old bone-faced goddess, old original, who once took blood in return for food. The men of the town stalk homeward, excited by their show of hate. Their own eagle turned inside out like a glove, and me wearing it. 9 p.m. The bonnets come to stare, the dark skirts also, the upturned faces in between, mouths closed so tight they're lipless. I can see down their eye holes and nostrils. I can see their fear. You were my friend, you too. I cured your baby, missus, and flushed yours out of you, non-wife, to save your life. Help me down? You don't dare. I might rub off on you like soot or gossip. Birds of a feather burn together, though as a rule, ravens are singular. In a gathering like this one, the safe place is the background. Pretending you can't dance, a safe stance, pointing a finger. I understand. You can't spare anything. A hand, a piece of bread, a shawl against the cold, a good word. Lord knows there isn't much to go around. You need it all. 10 p.m. Well, God, now that I'm up here with maybe some time to kill away from the daily fingerwork, legwork, work at the hen level, we can continue our quarrel, the one about free will. Is it my choice that I'm dangling like a turkey's waddle from this more than indifferent tree? If nature is your alphabet, what letter is this rope? Does my twisting body spell out grace? I hurt, therefore I am. Faith, charity, and hope are 3 dead angels falling like meteors or burning owls across the profound black sky of your face. 12 o'clock midnight. My throat is taut against the rope, choking off words and air. I'm reduced to knotted muscle. Blood bulges in my skull. My clenched teeth hold it in. I bite down on despair. Death sits on my shoulder like a crow waiting for my squeezed beat of a heart to burst so he can eat my eyes. Or like a judge muttering about sluts and punishment and licking his lips. Or like a dark angel insidious in his glossy feathers whispering to me to be easy on myself. To breathe out finally. Trust me, he says, caressing. Why suffer? A temptation to sink down into these definitions, to become a martyr in reverse, or food, or trash. To give up my own words for myself, my own refusals, to give up knowing, to give up pain, to let go. 2 a.m. Out of my mouth is coming, at some distance from me, a thin gnawing sound, which you can confuse with prayer, except praying is not constrained. Or is it, Lord? Maybe it's more like being strangled than I once thought. Maybe it's a gasp for air prayer. Did those men at Pentecost want flames to shoot out of their heads? Did they ask to be tossed on the ground, gabbling like holy poultry, eyeballs bulging? As mine are, as mine are. There is only one prayer. It is not the knees and the clean nightgown on the hooked rug. I want this, I want that. Oh, far beyond. Call it, please. Call it mercy. Call it not yet, not yet. As heaven threatens to explode inwards in fire and shredded flesh, and the angels caw. 3 a.m. Wind ceased and the leaves around me, the trees exude night. Night birds yell inside my ears, like stabbed my heart, stutters in my flaring cloth body. I dangle with strength, going out of me. The wind seeps in my body, tattering the words. I clench my fist, hold no talisman or silver disc. My lungs flail as if drowning. I call on you as a witness. I did no crime. I was born. I have borne. I bear. I will be born. This is a crime. I will not acknowledge leaves and wind. Hold on to me. I will not give in. 6 a.m. Sun comes up, huge and glaring, no longer a simile for God. Wrong address. I've been out there. Time is relative. Let me tell you, I have lived a millennium. I would like to say my hair turned white overnight, but it didn't. Instead, it was my heart. Leach out like meat and water. Also, I'm about 3 inches taller. This is what happens when you drift in space listening to the gospel of the red hot stars. Pinpoints of infinity riddle my brain, a revelation of deafness. At the end of my rope, I testify to silence. Don't say I'm not grateful. Most will have only one death. I will have 2. 8 a.m. When they come to harvest my corpse, open your mouth, close your eyes. Cut my body from the rope. Surprise, surprise, I was still alive. Tough luck, folks, I know the law. You can't execute me twice for the same thing. How nice. I fell to the clover, breathed it in, and bared my teeth at them in a filthy grin. You can imagine how that went over. Now I only need to look out at them through my sky blue eyes. They see their own ill will staring them in the forehead and turn tail. Before, I was not a witch, but now I am one. Later, my body of skin waxes and wanes around my true body. A tender numbness. I skitter over the paths and fields, mumbling to myself like crazy. Mouth full of juicy adjectives and purple berries. The townsfolk dive headfirst into the bushes to get out of my way. My first death orbits my head, an ambiguous nimbus, medallion of my ordeal. No one crosses that circle. Having been hanged for something I never said, I can now say anything I can say. Holiness gleams on my dirty fingers. I eat flowers and dung, 2 forms of the same thing. I eat mice and give thanks. Blasphemies gleam and burst in my wake like lovely bubbles. I speak in tongues, my audience is owls. My audience is God, because who the hell else can understand me? Who else has been dead twice? The words boil out of me, coil after coil of sinuous possibility. The cosmos unravel from my mouth, all fullness, all vacancy. That's it.
Before, I was not a witch, but now I am one. I was thinking when Joy read her July 4th, a couple of poems a while ago, that we need to think sometimes more about, not talking about what she did, but in general, reading dated poems throughout the year. I mean, if it's a good poem, if it's a meaningful poem to you, it's a meaningful poem to you. And I would hate to think that a really cool Christmas poem was just read the week before Christmas or the week after Christmas and then put away out of sight. So just something to think about. Don't be afraid of bringing up what you might consider dated poems. It's not what you did, that just got me thinking. Okay, who's coming up next? Not necessarily now, but at some point. Oh, Kimberly? It looks to me like you keep waving your hand, but then when I call you up, you never come up here. And I'm getting pretty pissed off about it.
I didn't know Stacy would beat me up in the alley.
Oh, the ass whipper. I don't know if he'll do it or not, but I did give Morris another one of my Vietnam poems that is not in the book because he has read it before in performance at Locust Grove. So if he reads that, that'll be because I asked him to. And if he doesn't read it, it'll be because he chose not to. Okay, Kim.
The other shorty here.
Hello, that's me again. Kimberly Coffin. I'll start with my new one. It's my family reunion this week over at the lake with all I'm one of 13 kids. I'm the second oldest. So, this poem. My childhood home had its own love language, a signature mix of argumentativeness and allegiance. If we can't be bothered to disagree, there is no true affection there. Debate is how we care. So that was because my husband says we fight all the time. Family fight night, he calls it, because that's how we are. We don't just talk to each other. So that's that poem. This is this little poetry magazine that they put out every month. It's only like $4 or $35 for like a 15-month subscription, but it's really cool. I was looking for the one I really wanted to share out here. Not finding it. Boarding House by George, I don't know how to say it, Xerxes, S-Z-I-R-T-E-S.
That's it.
Is it?
Well, we know it all.
Boarding house. Dark corridors, crammed bedrooms, stairs that smell of cigarette smoke and impermanence. Long days of waiting, ringing of the bell that calls us to our dinner. Shillings and pence that fill the hand. The wallpaper, the pulse of other people's half-heard arguments. The landlord's dog, interminable phone calls in the lobby. Someone is falling apart, another's longing to be somewhere else. You hold on to the street map of your heart and make yourself at home. You're here at last, whatever here now means. Now you can start your childhood again, the world a mythic past you'll wander into by mistake. The joys of lost performance with a vanished cast of now imagined names that other boys might whisper just to put you in a spin. It is another language that deploys the tottering edifice that you live in. Strangers will come and go, are gone for good. The bedroom's empty. Here is a new skin for you to wear in the enchanted wood. Oh yeah, Spencer Short, The Gentle Art of Shabby Dressing. I don't know anything about shabby dressing. There's nothing dandier than threadbare threads worn by a discerning shabby dresser. A collar's fret or subtle fray is not lesser because it's worn away, but models instead in the bespoke tailoring of time itself. Done poorly, the gentleman farmer's piecemeal pastoral, that no-ho charmer's duct-taped boots,
It's like an unread bookshelf of secondhand prose, a too-studied pose. Done well, it draws you in to draw you near, reveals the intricate pattern in the year's inexorable ravel. Between decompose and deconstruct, what seemed a foppish quirk grows wise. Design undone, we wear time's work. But there was one more in there. This book's kind of neat. There's these poems in the center that are folded in that you kind of, I don't know if you've seen this poem. It's just called poetry, but it's a really neat little thing. Weatherman by Char de Nior. A cloud spelled out a rune I couldn't read fast enough before it morphed into another form that changed again. So I recited something true enough from an ancient book. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north, round and round it goes. The screen went blank, and then the slip. No matter, I thought, I'll drive a truck. The clouds are codes for reading the blues, I said beneath my breath as I walked out into the rain with my umbrella and attitude that kept me lean if unemployed. A hermit thrush reported the dusk somewhere in the woods on my way home, and I called back like a human bird who'd lost his wings. Light's such a fickle thing that I sing for it. And I think I had one more in this weird book that my school was giving away. Looking in the Album by Vern Retzela. Here, the formal times are surrendered to the camera's indifferent gaze. Weddings, graduations, births, and official portraits taken every 10 years to falsify appearances. Even snapshots meant to gather afternoons with casual ease are rigid. Smiles are too buoyant. Tinny laughter echoes from the stage scene on an artificial beach. And yet, we want to believe this is how it was, that children's hair always bore the recent marks of combs, that trousers, even at picnics, were always creased, and we traveled years with the light but earnest intimacy of linked hands or arms arranged over shoulders. This is the record of our desired life, pleasant, leisurely on vacations, wryly comment before local landmarks, competent auditors of commencement speakers, showing in our poses that we believed what we were told. But this history contains no evidence of aimless nights when the wilderness of ourselves sprang up to swallow the outpost of what we thought we were. Nowhere can we see tears provoked by anything but joy. There are no pictures of our brittle, lost intentions. We burned the negatives that we felt did not give a true account, and with others, made this abridgment of our lives. Thank you. Raise your hand. Where you got it from?
Tomorrow I have the honor of reading one of Lynn Riggs' poems at the Equality Center in Tulsa, where some of us will be gathering tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. The Lynn Riggs mural, the Equality Center, was vandalized. Lynn Riggs, of course, wrote Green Grow the Lilacs. It turned into the Broadway play Oklahoma, and is a major poet, taught at the University of Oklahoma. But he has 2 books of poetry, and we're going to be reading, and they're not very long, but we're going to be reading every one of his poems tomorrow at the Equality Center while they're working on repairing the defaced mural of Lynn Riggs. And the Poetry magazine, I never would have thought when I was a junior in high school and enjoying the Playboy centerfold that I would get to the age where my greatest enjoyment is the centerfold in Poetry magazine, and it's a brilliant use of space because it allows them to get more poems into the magazine. It's really a neat idea. This is, for those of you that don't know, this is the regularly scheduled poetry night with Morris McCorvey, and here's Morris.
Yay.
Thanks, Bill. I forgot to mention, because Chris fortuitously got set up after I introduced Bill, Kimberly's mention of something about the camera thing. Got to mention all this. Have you got a memory yet, Chris? All this is being videotaped. If any of you all have anything against, Kenwood Cook is back there finally too with the camera too. Hey, Kenwood. All of you have anything against being viral, let one of you going viral, let one of these guys know. Otherwise, you're subject to go viral up here. I was waiting, hoping for him to run out of memory before I got back up here. Boy, I ain't ready to go viral. I pay close attention to words, which it's been a real gas back here. You know, this is breathtaking back here on the back road. That's what's going on, Richard, isn't it? They'll take your breath away. You know, we talk about how, you know, it's not as many people. This has been absolutely a breathtaking evening. Gosh, Stacy, thank you so much for jumping out on that limb. You know, I've been out there many a time with the long form.
Good work, Jim.
You got to bring that drama out. Gosh, Tamika, thank you so much for bringing it. You know, I remember when I had that responsibility for the State Arts Council for 10 years, and it's just so beautiful to know that now that I have yielded, there's some young black folks coming up behind me and be bringing it to, you know, straight up. So thank you so much for that. All of you for sharing. It's been a gas, you know. This is one of my favorite poems by, you know, I just favorite after favorite after favorite. Bill's called Unexploded Ordnance. There are 350,000 tons of live bombs and mines still remaining in Vietnam. They are waiting, biding their time. More than 100,000 Vietnamese have been killed or injured since America left. 18 million gallons of defoliants were sprayed in 20,000 missions in country. Because of my exposure to Agent Orange, Uncle Sam pays me $700 a month. And I am waiting, biding my time. This business about defacing monuments is getting a little bit irritating. Recently, I don't know if you all know, there have been some idiots who decided they wanted to shoot up and pose beside the monument to Emmett Till. I don't know if that name rings a bell or not, but I know it kept me from looking at white girls for about 20 years before I realized what I was missing. Grandma told me, look at your shoes, boy, look at your shoes. There's only so long you can look at your shoes, you know what I mean? At a certain point, boy, you got to look up, you know? And my goodness, what you missing? Emmett Till. And I have to, not to belabor, but you know, there was a photograph of him in Jet magazine to which a generation of us were exposed and educated, and you know, I'm making light of it, but we were really taught survival skills, and one of them was not looking at you, Joy. You know? But man, halfway into college, I was playing football. The cheerleader just kept getting in front of me. I finally had to look up. Thank goodness I finally saw this lady here too. Here's one for you, Tamika. Biding my time. Biding you all's time. If you've been biding your time, you know, we have this, you have a little bit more time, and Bill mentioned that you can double up. You have something, oh my goodness, the prophet, my oldest son is named after Khalil, and there was a time when I attempted to memorize that entire Quran. I would reckon everyone knows that. That was beautifully read and beautifully chosen. The time's going to come. Doing this for Chris Foster, who ain't with us. I'm missing Chris, and he's the guy who stepped up to me one night and said, you know, that thing is pretty cool, and you ought to find a way to use it. I'm going to use it for an introduction to a poem in my new book, Ghost Dancing. The time's going to come when the time's going to go, and where there won't be nobody, The time's going to come when the time's going to go, and where the time went won't nobody know, because the ebb won't ebb and the flow won't flow, and the clock on the wall just ain't going to show that the time is now, and now's the time. And that's the reason I'm dropping this rhyme, because the show's going on no matter what, and the sands of time is going to bury your butt. And when your butt's buried, and that's the end, time ain't going to come around again. We all got a minute to be totally in it, and once it ticks past, then that's your ass, because the ebb's gonna ebb and the flow's gonna flow until the time maker says there ain't no more. And once it's all gone, you gotta get your hat, because that, my friend, is the end of that. You know, you gotta be old school to know what getting your hat means, right? And you get your hat and hit the dough. And I thought I'd share these two from a new book, and we'll get on out the way. The Deal. I've been working on this one. I tried it a little while ago here, but I got it done now. The Deal. It's the deal, Joey. This is the deal. Frost fled to England. Plath killed herself. Hughes courted commies and pounded pelf. Cummings concealed abstractly. Kerouac was a thief. Ginsberg resembled exactly. Thomas drank for relief. Dickinson tucked herself away. Poe passed away in a gutter. All for the things their hearts had to say, rewarded for all they dared utter. And so here you stand, audacious, self-claimed poet, your destiny held in Calliope's hand, and you should darn well know it. Your fate a fancy of Cleo's whims, your dreams held by Erato, and all you hear is Euterpe's hymns, as if from your soul's very grotto. So speak your piece, embrace every moment to share it. Be one of those who dare to dare it, and celebrate your spirit's release. And that's the deal for you poets and would-be poets. We talked about the rhyme here. Talk about rhyme. I've been doing irregular rhyme this year, and I've learned to trust it. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Cute can kill you dead and leave you smiling, but what a way to go. Beautiful can be even worse, but how is one to know? Considered a semicolon tattoo, given all the givens gone down, but figured all my scars would do as long as I got out of town. See, all her reading was based on fact, and all of mine on fiction. It wasn't such a drag, in fact, it fired a sexy friction. Search for a pathway there, onto that forest pleasure trail. I learned to kneel as if in prayer, and let my loving soul set sail. But I prefer dogs, and she loves cats, plus myriad others, thises and that's, which led all our best intents astray. But I digress, as I was saying. cute can set one up for slaying. Of course, the same can be said for two, and thus the somewhat dramatic tattoo. And I forgot, I got one more. Going blind up here. Excuse me. The twins whose headlights closed school last October, and at whom my kids once laughed until I cried on the way home, have a puppy. They live in a lopsided green duplex shack with a crumbling porch where the smoker sits smoking up the afternoon, watching the workers to and fro. Tiny and black, the pup cuddles in the arms of one of the girls, who now have brown curls tumbling onto their shoulders. Thank you.
Thank you, Morris. This is, we're going to have, Morris kind of wanted some guest hosts, guest MCs. And so we're going to do that, but this remains Poetry Night with Morris McCorvey. He's still obviously the man, and it is so, his little comments to me, the way he looks at me are so funny, because he can do anything he wants to. He's actually running this. Now, I've got two short ones here, and then somebody that hasn't read and wants to is going to need to make themselves known. There's nothing wrong with raising your hand or stepping forward at a poetry event, because then we're going to go around again as time allows. But I want people that haven't read to read, but you're going to have to make it known. Here are two poems by Jennifer Long of Norman, Oklahoma. She hasn't titled them yet, but I have this one. And I've read these before. Yes, I'm just virtually taking ownership over them. I've read these two poems in 3 different states. So they, I've read these before, but it was late last year when I did. This one I call Ashes. This is by Jennifer Long. My shirt smelled, and so I burned it in a fire. And now what's left of it smells fine. So I'll wash it and hang it on the line. It will take a lot of clothespins to keep those ashes from blowing off in the wind. You may think how silly it is of me to do my laundry in such a foolish way. But I learned all this from someone who burned up love one thoughtless, careless day. That's Jennifer's. Here's her second one. This is by Jennifer Long. I call this one Arlington. I think of the snow that covers the graves at Arlington. It covers the grounds and the crosses and property line. It makes all Virginia a graveyard and covers my heart with vinegar, paper, and twine. I'm bound up in the deaths and lives and stories, the histories of my family line. My broken heart is bound together with vinegar, paper, and twine. Tonight, when the snow quits falling, like manna on preparation day, I'll go pick frozen flowers to put on your headstone on Veterans Day. Then I'll pick some frozen roses and go and put them on mine, and bind my frozen heart up again with vinegar, paper, and twine. That's Jennifer Long, Norman, Oklahoma. Okay, who's next? Step right up, folks. Take a chance. Come on up. This is not a deal where we guess your weight. We're not at the counter. This is not. Who wants? But on the other hand, also, there's no pressure. We welcome people that just have one, people that want to have more, people that want to come and listen. We love people that want to come and listen. Okay, we're We're gonna start a second round, but also people that haven't read at all are still welcome to jump in. Okay, good. I don't know if it's gonna be Khalil Gibran or not. But
It is.
It is, very good. And yes, I have the original, or
They're
not the,
just like
or
me.
not the original, I had that one from 50 years ago.
Well, this was written in 1929. He's a really old guy. He was born in 1980 or something. I guess I shouldn't be casting aspersions on other old people. But this is really, I got this book when I had my very first child. And so I'm going to read my favorite poem in this about Speak to Us of Children. And a woman who held a babe.
Pull that thing down.
Better? And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you, for life goes not backwards, nor tarries with tomorrow, with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends towards you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. So,
Call me out. Yes, of course.
This business about being up here is an opportunity to really share. And every single poet who comes up here at this microphone, when you are here, you are the featured poet of the evening. You have the power to do whatever you want to do. And that's part of what it's all about. I was asking Vivian if she remembered the poetry readings down in Normandy, man. They would take you out back, you know, sometimes. And that's kind of what this has not been about. So, you know, I wanted to say to you, I ain't really been indulging myself when I'm showing out. I know I'm showing out, as my mom would say, but I'm doing it to let you know, when you get up here, it's your opportunity to show out too, when we're showing out. So when you leave here, you can get out of your system, and then go down and Baldwin and show out and get in trouble. Because like J.J. Kell said, you know, they don't care about Dallas, Texas, they don't care about Wichita. Whenever you're in Oklahoma, you got to move around the law. So when you get up here, it's your opportunity to do and say, do your thing, and that's what's beautiful about this. And I just want to make that clear. I know I'm showing out on purpose, and I'm trying to encourage you, every one of you all, to not hold back, to do the very same thing. And I appreciate Bill pointing that out, because he's showing out too. You're on the ball too.
So my 7-year-old grandson, William, said last week, "Papa, spiders are controlling my mind and they make me do bad things and I don't like it." So I asked his mom about that. He had just been grounded a week and he has discovered a way to blame his misbehavior on, in this case, spiders. Spiders made him do bad things and he doesn't like it. And he is so sweet. Gosh. Okay, who's next? Very good. Keep them coming.
All right. Got it covered. Okay. I will see your,
Uh-oh, here we go.
it's just you and me and we just disagree.
Yeah, boy.
And I'll raise you by E.Y. Farber in 1930. And I want you to know, I have Paul's permission to do this. I told him I was going to, and he approved. So if you want to step out, you can now. Once I built a railroad, I made it run. I made it run against time. Once I built a railroad and now it's done. Buddy, can you spare a dime? Once I built a tower way up to the sun of bricks and mortar and lime. Once I built a tower and now it's done. Buddy, can you spare a dime? Once in khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of the Yankee doodly dum. 500,000 boots went slogging through a hell, and I was the kid with the drum. Say, don't you remember? You called me Al. It was Al all the time. Say, don't you remember? I was your pal. Buddy, can you spare a dime? Once I built a railroad, I made it run. I made it run against time. Once I built a railroad, and now it's done. Buddy, can you spare a dime?
Oh, wow.
You don't have to follow song with song.
Like I said, you guys are making Bob Dylan here in a second.
Bob Dylan, you've got a lot of nerve to say you are my friend. When I was down, you just stood there grinning. You've got a lot of nerve to say you got a helping hand to lend when you just want to be on the side that's winning. You see me on the street this way down, you always act surprised. You say, good luck, how are you? But you don't mean it. When you know as well as me, you'd rather see me paralyzed. Why don't you just come out one time and scream it? I wish that for just one time, you could stand inside my shoes, and just for that one time, I could be you. I wish that for just one time, you could stand inside my shoes, and you'd know what a fucking drag it is to see you. Bob Dylan. Okay. That's my favorite Dylan. It didn't come out on an album. It's got a strange history. It's by far my favorite Bob Dylan song, and was my mother's favorite Bob Dylan song, which is important to me.
Tangled Up in Blue is mine.
Tangled Up in Blue. I like Farther Back. Okay, this is by David Kirby. This was a finalist. This was a big deal. This was a finalist for the Rattle Poetry Prize, which is like $10,000 or something. I mean, it's serious. This was a finalist. This is David Kirby, and he says that he threaded 3 different ideas together. So we're going to come back to the beginning. It's going to start. You need to pay attention to the irritated woman in the graveyard, in the cemetery, because then at the end it's going to come back to her. This is a threaded, a braided poem by David Kirby called More Than This. When you tell me that a woman is visiting the grave of her college friend and she's trying not to get irritated at the man in the red truck who keeps walking back and forth and dropping tools as he listens to a pro football game on the truck radio, which is much too loud, I start to feel as though I know where this story is going, so I say, stop, you're going to make me cry. How sad the world is. When young men died in the mud of Flanders, the headmaster called their brothers out of the classroom one by one. But when the older brothers began to die by the hundreds every day, he simply handed the child a note as he did his lessons. And of course, the boy wouldn't cry in front of the others, though at night the halls were filled with the sound of schoolboys sobbing for the dead young men only slightly older than themselves. Yet the world's beauty breaks our hearts as well. The old cowboy is riding along and looks down at his dog and realizes she died a long time ago, and that his horse did as well. And this makes him wonder if he is dead too. And as he's thinking this, he comes to a big shiny gate that opens onto a golden highway. And there's a man in a robe and white wings. And when the cowboy asks what this place is, the man tells him it's heaven and invites him in, though he says animals aren't allowed. So the cowboy keeps going till he comes to an old rusty gate with a road full of weeds and potholes on the other side, and a guy on a tractor. And the guy wipes his brow and says, "You three must be thirsty. Come in and get a drink." And the cowboy says, "Okay, but what is this place?" And the guy says, "It's heaven." And the cowboy says, "Then what's that place down the road with the shiny gate and the golden highway?" And when the guy says, "Oh, that's hell," the cowboy says, "Doesn't it make you mad that they're pretending to be you?" And the guy on the tractor says, "No, we like it that they screen out the folks who would desert their friends." You tell me your friend can't take it anymore, and she turns to confront the man who's making all the noise, to beg him to leave her alone with her grief. And that's when she sees that he's been putting up a Christmas tree on his son's grave, and that he's grieving too, but in his own way. One that is not better or worse than the woman's, just different. The kind of grief that says the world is so beautiful that it will give you no peace. That's a poem by David Kirby. Now who's next? You ladies aren't through already, are you? You're through? You just relaxing, just enjoying? Thank you.
Okay, I have another poem by Antoine Fisher. Who will cry for the little boy? Who will cry for the little boy, lost and all alone? Who will cry for the little boy, abandoned without his own? Who will cry for the little boy, he cried himself to sleep? Who will cry for the little boy, he never had for keeps? Who will cry for the little boy, he walked the burning sand? Who will cry for the little boy inside the man? Who will cry for the little boy, who knows well hurt and pain? Who will cry for the little boy, he died again and again? Who will cry for the little boy, a good boy he tried to be? Who will cry for the little boy who cries inside of me? And then this one is by Alex L. It's called Resilience. Look at you, still standing after being knocked down and thrown out. Look at you, still growing after being kicked and plucked and prodded out of your home. Look at you, still dancing and singing after being defeated and disassembled. Look at you, love, still here and hopeful after it all. This one's called Uneasy. I may not always be the easiest woman to love, but I love hard enough to collapse the sky, strong enough to hold together crumbling mountains, and deep enough to drown the sea. That's it for that one. Learning alone. In order to undo something, you must first render yourself hopeless to regain hope. You must journey alone to outgrow the tall tales of loneliness. You are not lonely, you are healing. And healing takes learning, all by yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
What was that book you read from?
Called Neon Soul.
Neon Soul? So I was there.
Yeah, it's a collection of poetry.
Next person.
Oh, you got to squeeze in something, Bill.
Yep.
What was that lyric that you did with the first one? The first song lyric that you did?
Oh, Stranger in Paradise.
Stranger in Paradise and Other People's Paradise. Someone else did one? Other People's Paradise?
We just disagree.
Gosh, you know, I would strongly recommend you Google Other People's Paradise and Stranger in Paradise, Miles Davis Quintet, and see what he does with that. It's a different kind of poetry, and you kind of got to look at it. It's kind of fun. Now, it's been bringing joy and hype about the Miles Davis Quintet. Because what he does with poetry is so very cool. And you get it, all can happen to you. You're not, for me, with just Google, you can Google anything now. Miles Davis, Quintet.
Who else? I'll have a poem here in a moment to wrap things up. I don't know if Morris is going to have anything else or not. I think maybe Joy is Joy going to be
What's all about?
the MC next month, or she hasn't decided yet?
It is. It is.
Is it going to be you, Joy? It's going to be Joy.
Then I think we selected Kimberly just because she wasn't here.
It was John Cusack.
I think it's made you the going host of September, didn't it? You know?
Anyone else before the last poem?
How about the host poets?
About the what?
You.
How about you, Jesus?
Joy Harjo. The woman hanging from the 13th floor window. She is the woman hanging from the 13th floor window. Her hands are pressed white against the concrete molding of the tenement building. She hangs from the 13th floor window in East Chicago with a swirl of birds over her head. They could be a halo or a storm of glass waiting to crush her. She thinks she will be set free. The woman hanging from the 13th floor window on the east side of Chicago is not alone. She is a woman of children, of the baby Carlos, and of Margaret, and of Jimmy, who is the oldest. She is her mother's daughter and her father's son. She has several pieces between the two husbands she has had. She has all the women of the apartment building who stand watching her, watching themselves. When she was young, she ate wild rice on syruped down plates in warm wood rooms. It was in the farther north and she was the baby then. They rocked her. She sees Lake Michigan lapping at the shores of herself. It is a dizzy hole of water, and the rich live in tall glass houses at the edge of it. In some places, Lake Michigan speaks softly. Here it just sputters and butts itself against the asphalt. She sees other buildings just like hers. She sees other women hanging from many-floored windows, counting their lives in the palms of their hands and in the palms of their children's hands. She is the woman hanging from the 13th floor window on the Indian side of town. Her belly is soft from her children's births. Her worn Levi's swing down below her waist, and then her feet, and then her heart. She is dangling. The woman hanging from the 13th floor hears voices. They come to her in the night when the lights have gone dim. Sometimes they are little cats mewing and scratching at the door. Sometimes they are her grandmother's voices, and sometimes they are gigantic men of light whispering to her to get up, to get up, to get up. That's when she wants to have another child to hold on to in the night, to be able to fall back into dreams. And the woman hanging from the 13th floor window hears other voices. Some of them scream out from below for her to jump. They would push her over. Others cry softly from the sidewalks, pull their children up like flowers, and gather them into their arms. They would help her, like themselves. But she is the woman hanging from the 13th floor window, and she knows she is hanging by her own fingers, her own skin, her own thread of indecision. She thinks of Carlos, of Margaret, of Jimmy. She thinks of her father and of her mother. She thinks of all the women she has been, of all the men. She thinks of the color of her skin and of Chicago streets and of waterfalls and pines. She thinks of moonlight nights and of cool spring storms. Her mind chatters like neon and north side bars. She thinks of the 4 a.m. loneliness that have folded her up like death, discordant, without logical and beautiful conclusion. Her teeth break off at the edges. She would speak. The woman hangs from the 13th floor, crying for the lost beauty of her own life. She sees the sun falling west over the great plain of Chicago. She thinks she remembers listening to her own life break loose as she falls from the 13th floor window on the east side of Chicago. Or as she climbs back up to claim herself again. Joy Harjo, thank you and good night.